Warning. This is the following message. Warning. This is a warning. What's said on YouTube stays on YouTube. I repeat, this is a warning. What's said on YouTube stays on YouTube. Okay? I repeat, do not repeat what I said. What stays on YouTube, what's said on YouTube stays on YouTube. The following video is about Brittmchenry. Okay? First, let me introduce myself. I am the one and only Stephen Novacchio. I am your host. Welcome to episode 3. If you want, subscribe to my channel and you can catch up on my other videos and other videos that I will be doing. But in the meantime, I want to talk about, we're going to talk about Brittmchenry, ESPN reporter. A couple of months ago, those of you that follow Brittmchenry on Twitter, you might remember this. A couple of months ago, there was a situation on Twitter, 2 months ago, which was /May 2016, 2 months ago. There was a situation with her on Twitter, her and this Boston chick who I follow, who I went back to following each other with. And because of that situation, apparently in ways, Brittmchenry was not mad at me, but this Boston chick was kind of upset at me, and apparently a couple of her followers were. But then why the heck should I care, you know? Well, you know, you figure Boston fans, you know, but apparently I guess I was being held responsible for it because of what happened. But it wasn't really my fault, to be honest with you. Now, just like I said before, those of you that follow McHenry on Twitter, you might know what I'm talking about. All I did was ask a simple question. For fun. Not to start trouble. For fun. Well, let me explain to you the history of this other one, this Boston chick. A couple of times I would mentor this Boston chick in conversations, and I would ask certain questions like, with other people, like who should be punished more, Yankee fans or Red Sox fans? Who you hang out with, Yankee fans or Red Sox fans? Well, with this Boston chick, you know, I guess I learned some things about her. I would mentor her in conversation. Now, I remember when they had the picture of Tom Brady on the paper, on the Daily News, him as a baby, saying crybaby. I took a picture of it. I mentored her, my cousin Michelle, because she's a Dolphin fan, and my Uncle Mike's friend. Right, because he's a Jet fan, right? And I took a picture, right? And this Boston chick knows how I hate Tom Brady and how I consider his wife Giselle fake and, you know, such and such. So, of course, because of it, there was a conversation between my Uncle Mike's friend and my cousin and this Boston chick. During that conversation, my cousin Michelle just laid low. She just kept quiet, you know. She's out in Florida, but she kept quiet, right? So this Boston chick made a comment and said something like about going against her and Giselle and such, you know, like just acting up or being afraid of her and Giselle, or, you know. So then my Uncle Mike's friend made a comment about ignorant Boston fans, and when he said that, my mouth like dropped, right? And I replied, I said, good luck, dude, right? So then, of course, she blocked him, and I said, well, he could care less. and he made a comment, said, "I'll write you a compliment, and you can just go ahead and do it," right? So after that, okay, that was interesting, right? There were other times where I mentored this Boston chick in other conversations, like, okay, like, for an example, I mentored her and Tommy Lee. I asked, the drummer from Motley Crue, because she likes Tommy Lee. And I said to Tommy Lee, I said, if you had a choice, who would you hang out with, Yankee fans or Red Sox fans? And he got a kick out of it. Like, one of the things that was said in the conversation he liked, right? Of course, she was like, "Hey, don't you mention my man Tommy," I'm like, okay, I'm just saying to myself, okay, But there was one of the things in the conversation that was said that he liked. He got a kick out of it. He's a cool dude, right? One time I mentored her and Kathy Ireland in a conversation on Mother's Day, because she knows I like Kathy Ireland, because me and Kathy Ireland follow each other, right? And I told Kathy Ireland how wonderful she is, and I mentored this Boston chick, right? She was like, "Dude, untag me." I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not doing this for trouble. I'm just having fun and all, right? So she replied back with a smile and said, "Yeah, I know. So then she sent me a message that night saying, "Hey, you know what? Now Kathy Ireland's following me." She's like, "You must be a celebrity genius, because now," and you even had Tommy Lee like one of the comments that was said in the conversation. I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, it was awesome. Yeah, it was pretty cool." So then that was on Mother's Day. That was on Mother's Day, right? A couple of times I would say things on a comment that she retweeted. Like, one time she retweeted a tweet from a New England Patriots player about doing charity, and I made a comment. I said, "Oh, when you're not cheating to win, you're doing this." Of course, she made a comment and said, "Oh, you're just an ass." I'm like, well, I'm only speaking the truth. I'm only having fun, Hey, I just get hooked on the American freedom. Well, here comes Brittmchenry. 2 months ago, like I said, May 2016. This was 2 months ago. I was gonna ask that comment again. I was gonna put her in a conversation like that, asking somebody who they hang out with, Yankee fans or Red Sox fans. At first, I guess I didn't realize who this Brittmchenry was. I guess I must have forgot. So this is how it happened. I go on Twitter, I hit the word B. I see an ESPN reporter, right? And I guess I didn't realize who she was, right? So I said, okay, and I said to her, if you had a choice, who would you hang out with? Yankee fans or Red Sox fans? And of course, I put this Boston chick in the conversation. This Boston chick replies and says, "Oh, she is so disgusting. She is worthless. She is this. You can have her. You can hang out." I'm like, okay, wait a minute, what's going on here? What's this? She's like, "Oh, it's her. It's this Brittmchenry. She's like, thinks she's all this. She's just worthless. She's trash, right?" And started like blabbing off. And then I made a jokingly comment. I said, "You mean like Street Trash, the movie, which is like a horror type comedy film?" I never saw it, but I heard about it. But I said, "What, you mean like Street Trash, the movie?" Like, I was making a jokingly comment, right? So a couple hours later, through all the blah blah blah, trash talk, and all, and then making other comments, she shared the video with me with McHenry at the tow trucking company, right? So I saw the video, and when she shared the video with me, which is here on YouTube, She shared the video with me. She shared it. And when I watched it, then I said, okay. I remember. I've seen this now. I remember this. Okay. So then I said, okay, I've seen this. Okay, I've seen this. I remember this now. So I made a comment. I said, well, maybe she was like having a bad day or something like that. Or I don't know what I said, but she put the initial, she put IDGAF, which means I don't give a fuck, right? And I said, well, she could give a fuck just like you, right? And she said, well, I don't care. She said, why are you doing this? And I said, I'm not doing anything. I said, I didn't see this shit coming. I believe I said, well, I guess I must have forgot who she was. You know, I guess I didn't realize who this Brittmchenry was, but I do remember seeing that video of her at the company, you know, talking about how she has a master's degree and all, and being a college grad, which, you know, which I know nobody really cares what the next person has, you know, if the next person has a degree, you know, which we all know that. So I turned my phone off. A couple hours later, because I went upstairs, I had to go upstairs. I went upstairs to take a bath. A couple hours later, I turned on the phone. This was on a Saturday. This was on the weekend. A couple hours later, I turned my phone back on. Brittmchenry replies and says, if you hate me so much, why are you tweeting me? And when I saw that, my face like dropped. I'm like, oh God, no. So I had to retweet this, right? Because I figured my Uncle Mike's friend Mark is watching, is reading my tweets. I said to myself, I got to retweet this. He should get a kick out of this, right? So she said, well, if you hate me so much, why are you tweeting me, right? And the Boston chick replied and said, first of all, I'm not the one that tweeted you. Let's get this straight. So then right after then, the Boston chick blocked me, right? And I was like, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, it wasn't my fault, right? I told this other guy, then I told this other guy that followed me, who's a Boston fan, who's a Boston fan. I told him what happened. I said, it wasn't my fault, right? And you should have seen the comments, right? The minute Brittmchenry made that comment. Comments were, you know, right then and there, when they saw that tweet by her, they probably like, oh my God. And then they started saying things. They were like, oh yeah, like I'm sure you have, if you've seen her before. I know some guy made a comment and said, you got called out by Brittmchenry, and then put LOL down. And then, you know, I tweeted Brittmchenry and I said to her, I said, I'm sorry about that. I said it wasn't my fault, you know. I said, you know how Boston fans are. And she replied and said, well, thanks for being cool, right? Then, of course, the next day, that Sunday, I wake up and I see all the comments there were more comments that were made. Some female Yankee fans said, oh, it's okay, McHenry. You can hang out with us Yankee fans anytime, you know? I was like, I guess I didn't realize who this Brittmchenry was, you know? I didn't see this coming, you know? But the basic facts about that, you know, not that the comments that were, besides the comments that were said, McHenry followers weren't upset at me. They weren't mad at me, neither was she. But apparently, I guess this Boston chick followers, I believe her followers were like a little upset at me, which I don't really care, you know, because it wasn't my fault, you know, and I made a comment, you know, and if there are any Boston fans out there, please forgive me what I'm saying. But, you know, all I did was ask a simple question. You know, it wouldn't matter to me if she went out and hung out with Boston fans. Why would I care? You know, like if you're a Packer fan and you said to some chick, you gave her a choice saying, well, who do you want to hang out with, Packer fans or Bear fans? And if she wanted to go out and go to Chicago to hang out with Bear fans, would you make a big deal out of that? No. Why should you care? You know what I'm saying? All it was a simple question. And, you know, I just couldn't believe it, you know? And after then, you know, I mean, I have seen girls fight. We all have, like in high school. But I was never responsible for two girls fighting, you know? I've been looked at by girls, but I never had two girls fight over me. I don't even know. I mean, I enjoy seeing girls kiss and make out. When it comes to them fighting, well, I don't know. I mean, I've seen them fight in school and here on YouTube, but I was never, just like I said, I was never responsible for any two girls fighting. I was never put in a situation like that. I was never responsible for two girls having a fight, you know. Never had them fight over me, but I have been looked at by them. But, you know, I mean, this is something I'll never forget. And when they made the announcement of Muhammad Ali passing away, and they had Brittmchenry doing live coverage, that's the first thing that came to my mind was what happened. And I'm sure if you were me, you would probably be laughing your ass off just to have a flashback of what happened on Twitter. You know, like it could have been worse. Like let's say if they were like swinging at each other or started hitting each other and punching each other, would that be my fault? I mean, but the situation that happened on Twitter was just, it was only two things that were said, what McHenry said and what she said. But after that, couple months, weeks later, that Boston chick went back to follow me again. She said, I'll follow you. She sent me in a message because I asked her for another request. She said, I'll follow you only if you promise everything will be okay. You won't get me in trouble. I said, I did not get you in trouble. I did not get you in trouble at all. All I did was ask a simple question. I wasn't doing it to look for trouble. I guess I just didn't realize who this Brittmchenry was until she shared that video. But I do remember seeing it before. I do remember seeing that video before what happened on Twitter. You know, and I do remember seeing that video with her at the tow trucking company. But, you know, Brittmchenry, you know, she was born in the 80s like me. I was born in 83. She was born mid-80s. This Boston chick was 21 when I graduated high school. That was in 01. She was 21, this Boston chick. I don't know when Brittmchenry graduated high school. But, you know, I don't know. I don't know. You know, it was just a ridiculous thing, you know. I'll tell you, it was just ridiculous. But just like I said before, whatever you do, do not repeat what I said here. What's said on YouTube stays on YouTube. You know? And as far as the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry goes, so that will always be. And us Yankee fans and Red Sox fans will always go at it. Doesn't matter who this one chooses to hang out with or that one chooses to hang out with. It is what it is, you know? But, you know, me, you know, I'm not, you can't say I'm a catfight creator, you know? Yeah, I love seeing girls kiss and make out. Well, we men all do. You know, I love girls that are bisexual. You know, who wouldn't like that? But you know, you can't. That doesn't mean I can create my own organization and have girls fight. You know, I'm not big on money like Paul Heyman. You know, and I'm sorry if you're a Paul Heyman. I'm sure if you're a Paul Heyman fan, you would look at me and you would say to yourself, "Hey, move over, Paul Heyman. There's a new kid in town. We got a guy who can create girls fighting." You know. Besides, I ain't got the money to open up something like that. If I did, I probably wouldn't. But in the meantime, subscribe to my channel. You can catch up on my other videos. And I'll be doing more. I'll be talking about other things. Or here's another thing. Like, let's say you're a Carolina fan and you gave somebody a choice saying who do they want to hang out with. Carolina fans are Duke fans. If they chose Duke fans, hang out with Duke fans at a bar, would you make a big deal out of that? No. You know, once again, you know, I'm just saying, you know, basic facts. But in the meantime, subscribe to my channel. If you want to follow me on Twitter at Dovacchio Step 1, you can. But just remember what I said. What's said on YouTube stays on YouTube. Okay? Once again, subscribe to my channel. You can catch up on my other videos, and I'll be doing more. Once again, I'm your host, Stephen Novacchio. And remember, what's said on YouTube stays on YouTube. Bye.